SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And now, Kenya's opposition coalition, Azimio la Umoja, is officially divided after the leaders from the party expressed different opinions and interest, including withdrawal of their parties from the coalition, after Odinga posted on his Facebook account of having had a joint coalition meeting as Azimio to discuss on the agenda of the national dialogue on Wednesday. Kalonzo Musyoka, Wiper leader, blamed Odinga's act of championing for dialogue and told him of having been snookered. And at the same time, the ODM party has forwarded to the Azimio parliamentary group the names of Junet Mohammed, Millie Odhiambo, Caleb Hamisi, and Honorable Wilberforce Oundo to fill the vacant positions left by those nominated into the cabinet. Here are the details.
I confirm that I have received the resignations of the Honorable John Mbadi.
The opposition parliamentary positions left by the ODM leaders who were nominated to the cabinet by President William Ruto are yet to be filled after the ODM party announced the resignation of those leaders from the party, and hence ODM has proposed to the parliamentary group the names of Junet Mohammed to fill the position of the parliamentary minority leader, a position that was left by Honorable Opiyo Wandayi. The Suba North member of the National Assembly, Honorable Millie Odhiambo, has been proposed to take the position of the minority whip, while the Saboti lawmaker, Honorable Caleb Hamisi, is proposed to fill the position of the Public Accounts Committee that was left by Honorable John Mbadi. Honorable Wilberforce Oundo has been proposed to fill the position of the PAC Vice Chair in the National Assembly. As separation in the giant Azimio coalition comprising of 23 political parties gains momentum, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has blamed the coalition leader Raila Odinga for having been snookered by President William Ruto and has denied the post that was shared by Odinga on having met as Azimio coalition, a meeting convened aimed to have a dialogue agenda with the government.
I remember telling my brother Raila that you have been snookered. Those are the words I used. That this thing about national conversation or convention will not happen because Ruto has got what he wanted and what he calls government of national unity. And there's no government of national unity because there cannot be. Even if for a moment you are to assume amechukua watu wa ODM. But ODM plus Kenya Kwanza is not national unity. And so the rest of us are very clear that William Ruto snookered Raila Odinga and so Raila was himself very unhappy. He was actually telling him, calling him from, or sending emissaries to tell him not to announce a cabinet his other half before he came back.
This comes a week after PNU leader Peter Munya threatened to withdraw his party from the Azimio la Umoja coalition, just days after his counterpart from NAC party Martha Karua wrote a letter to the Azimio secretariat requesting to withdraw after ODM party officials were nominated by President William Ruto into his administration.
I have now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo, the Honorable James Opiyo Wandayi, the Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, the Honorable Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya.
Even as the opposition experiences fights within itself, signs show that Kalonzo Musyoka and other Azimio leaders are reorganizing themselves for a coalition with the deputy president ahead of the 2027 general elections. Should Kenyans expect new merger of political parties come 2027? Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
Kithure Kindiki, the newly appointed Interior Cabinet Secretary, faced a challenging vetting session before the National Assembly's Committee on Appointments, where he addressed concerns about police brutality during the recent anti-government protest. He distanced himself from the violence, emphasizing the police's independence under the Inspector General, while acknowledging the tragic losses and commending the police efforts. Susan Nganga with the full report.
Following the reappointment into the Interior Ministry, Kithure Kindiki appeared before the National Assembly's Committee on Appointments for a vetting session, where he completely distanced himself from the police brutality witnessed during the anti-government protests that rocked the country in the past 2 months.
The reason that I didn't talk every day is because the events the Honorable Member is referring to were mainly operational issues. The work of the Minister, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, as envisaged in Article 245 of the Constitution.
Responding to a question from Sunna East Member of Parliament Junaid Mohammed over his silence during the Gen Z protest at a time when protesters were abducted and killed, he explained that the police service is an independent office that operates under the guidance of the Inspector General, stating that his work is limited to providing policy guidelines to the organs of national security as outlined in the Constitution.
Is to give the organs of national security that fall under that ministry policy, direction, and policy guidance. And in particular, because we are talking about the police, Mr. Speaker, the police is under independent command, Article 245, paragraph 2. There are only two people who can give the Inspector General of Police directives. First, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, but only on policy issues. Number two, the the Director of Public Prosecutions in matters in investigations of criminal activities. Other than that, operational matters are handled by the command of the National Police Service, and therefore the Minister doesn't give operational directives.
Kindiki also revealed that he has drafted new regulations aimed at managing how protests are conducted, emphasizing the need for clear guidelines to ensure both public safety and the right to peaceful assembly.
Zero tolerance on extrajudicial killings, zero tolerance on abuse of human rights, and restraints in the use of force. Limited only, the use of force being limited only to cases contemplated in the Constitution and the National Police Service Act and the schedule thereto in the defense of life of the officer or the life of the people of Kenya.
Kindiki was the first cabinet nominee to be vetted in a 4-day exercise that seeks to assess their suitability to hold office. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Health Cabinet Secretary nominee Deborah Barasa was vetted earlier today by the National Assembly's committee chaired by Speaker Moses Wetangula. In her introductory remarks, Dr. Barasa confirmed that she is a qualified medical doctor and that she practiced from 2007 to 2020 with a renewal of her license by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council. Here is more on this.
Dr. Barasa.
Health Cabinet Secretary nominee Deborah Mlongo Barasa was the second to be vetted by the Appointments Committee of the National Assembly. The meeting, deputized by Deputy Speaker Gladys Boss, comprises of Abdi Shirei, Junet Mohammed, George Murugara, Nelson Koech, and Kimani Ishungwa, among others.
More than 5 minutes telling us your name, your educational background, your work experience, and any key competences that you have.
During her introductory remarks, Barasa highlighted her extensive medical experience and her role at the World Health Organization since 2020. She emphasized her plans to conduct a situational analysis of the health sector's challenges and implement effective interventions. She also proposed adopting a digital platform to streamline processes and improve efficiency.
Worked from the primary care level, the community health programs up to national level at the Kenyatta national level. Yes, the concerns I am a beneficiary of Linda Mama, and my daughter is a beneficiary of Linda Mama. And so I'm an advocate of it. And I will ensure that it's incorporated if SHIF is rolled out.
The Health Cabinet Secretary nominee also responded to questions from members of the public read to her by Speaker Moses Wetangula on adapting biotechnology and diagnosis, tackling the issues of Edu Afya and Linda Mama, and posting of medical interns, among other concerns.
We need to embrace and have community feedback and then work on it to see how we can intervene.
If approved, Dr. Barasa has promised to maintain high standards of professionalism and integrity in her role as the Health Cabinet Secretary. She will take over a ministry that many consider troubled, facing frequent strikes from healthcare workers and management issues. Once the National Assembly completes the vetting and gives its approval, Barasa will succeed former Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha. Principal Secretary Health and Professional Standards Mary Muthoni has called for calm in the country as the ministry tackles with the report cases on pox. Speaking in Kirinyaga when she met community promoters, the Principal Secretary said that they have sent teams to survey all the 32 entry points to be on standby to manage any case. She said the person is under quarantine and currently looking for contact person. The ministry is yet to confirm the exact number and will avail once they are done with the tracing as well as testing suspecting cases. The Principal Secretary confirmed to the country that as the ministry, they are committed to ensure they contain any outbreak. On the community health promoters, she enumerated various achievements and encouraged to do their best for the sake of the nation. She further called them to come with a policy leading to certification as well as increasing the stipend.
Madam PS, nataka nikuhakikishia kwamba sisi tumeweka katika budget yetu fedha ambazo tuna collaborate pamoja na national tukaweza kuwasaidisha hawa community health promoters. Niseme ya kwamba briefly hapa Kirinyaga tuko na community units 115 na wale ambao ni community health promoters ni 1222 na pale Madam PS ningetaka kuuliza ni kwamba tuliweza kusaidiwa na national your office kupewa hizi kits ambazo tunatumia na simu ambazo tunatumia. Niseme ya kwamba tulipata 854, that is 854 ndio tuliweza tu kupata. Na hivyo basi ningekuuliza kwa unyenyekevu ya kwamba hata wale ambao wamebaki ambao hawajawahi kupata tuweze kusaidiwa na tutafurahia pia wao wakipata.
In this county tuko na manyumba 193 households katika Kirinyaga County. Na katika nchi ya Kenya ukisikia household moja inakuanga na watu kama 5. Sawa sawa? So tukiwa na 193 ni kama tuko milioni 1. Ndio. Katika hiyo 193 we have managed to register 63%. That is 123,000 households. Tupige makofi, lakini hapo tuko C+. Oh, ni B-. Daktari hapa ananiambia ni B-. Ni sawa tu. Wacha tuseme iko hapo karibu kufika B-, karibu kuanguka C+. Sasa situjikakamue. Tumalize hii maneno hii mwezi. Kila mtu aregister wale 100 amepewa. Tumengoja nini? Si uko na simu? Si ndio? Si uko na kit? Enda kwanza you register everybody, every household. Ndio tuweze kupunguza magonjwa madogo madogo hapa chini kwa mwananchi wa kawaida. 45,400 people have been screened for diabetes, and out of this, 1,110, they have been referred to a health facility. Clap. Ile manyumba yote, ile household zote mumeregister, inamaanisha half of them mumescreen watu kwa mambo ya diabetes. Si mnajua kupima hiyo? Na mukipima, kuna watu wengine 1,000 out of that 45 mumewaambia hii kipimo haijanionyesha mambo mzuri sana, hebu tuende pale kwa health facility ukaangaliwe, tuone kama uko sawa. Si hiyo ndio kazi yetu? Jambo lingine, 40,300 have been screened for hypertension. Roho inapiga kidogo, BP hapa na pale, and out of that 5,600 have been referred to a health facility for further assessment and management. Si ati tunafurahia sana watu wakikuwa referred. Unajua tungependa tupime na tukute kila mtu ako sawa.
Lands Cabinet Secretary nominee Alice Wahome was vetted on Thursday by the National Assembly's committee chaired by Speaker Moses Wetangula. Addressing the National Assembly Vetting Committee on Thursday in Parliament, Wahome said she is a team player and one who takes pride in working within the team. Alice Wahome said the government is committed. The government expects to collect 65 billion Kenya shillings yearly from contentious affordable housing levy, touted as one of President William Ruto's legacy projects. The Cabinet Secretary nominee noted that the state expects to collect 65 billion Kenya shillings yearly, which will be used to fund the project countrywide should the program be given a green light by the court. Before that, she served as the Cabinet Secretary for Water, having been appointed in September 2023. During her tenure at the ministry, she said they have also raised sanitation from 26% to 32%. Wahome held the post as the Cabinet Secretary for Lands from October 5th, 2023 to July 11th, 2024. On the 11th of July, President William Ruto sacked all Cabinet Secretaries, saving for Prime Cabinet Secretary and Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi.
A team worker, I take a lot of pride in working within the team. I have had the privilege. Prior, I have talked about advocacy and training and litigation as a litigation lawyer, but within the Ministry of Water, I did various matters, various things in terms of the work of going to how many places can I go. If I can go to 5 or 10 and provide the statement that is needed to stamp authority of the government in terms of telling the cartels that I'm here and I will not allow, and I can tell you, Honorable Speaker, it has worked to some extent. But I said what I need is the law to be explicit, to be clear, to be able to tackle the problem of cartel. Otherwise, nobody is safe with their title deed if we are not going to deal a death blow to cartels. And I'm willing to walk along that journey with the Parliament.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. On that note, let's take a very fast break. We'll be right back with even more.
Our riddle for today is, if you don't keep me, I'll break. What am I?
I'm Annabelle Rino. I'm a model, a professional one indeed. I'm also a visual artist. I'm also a professional swimmer. But the moment I had that I was top 30, it revived. It revived everything in me, and I knew that this is a chance, not just for by my own decision, but it's a chance to me given by God. Every extra hour is for adding knowledge, adding wisdom to myself. And whenever I get some extra time, I can be able to add a skill through that knowledge and have a new talent to myself. So that's an added advantage. I never imagined I would do modeling at all. I thought that modeling was for those people who are born with their self-confidence
Yeah.
from the first day of birth. Someone is so energetic, someone is so confident.
And what about the worst experience as an artist? Because you also paint, you've also painted. Is there a worst experience, you can feel, hey? Now we're going to enter into something called random questions. My favorite. Okay, so I'm asking you a question. Alafu unajibu tu haraka. Okay.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. In Tanzania, a significant conflict is unfolding as the Maasai people face forced relocation from their ancestral lands in the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. This situation has escalated into a battle for indigenous rights against government policies aimed at promoting conservation and tourism. This initiative, launched in 2022, is framed as a necessary step to clear land for wildlife conservation and tourism projects. However, the Maasai community argues that this plan disregards their rights and cultural heritage. Here are the details.
The Ngorongoro Conservation Area in northern Tanzania has been home to the Maasai people for centuries. Their way of life, deeply connected to the land, is now under threat. In 2022, the Tanzanian government unveiled a plan to move the Maasai from this historic area to Msomera village, located about 600 kilometers away. The stated goal is to free up land for wildlife conservation and tourism, but the Maasai community argues that this plan disregards their rights and history.
They have been misleading people with words, all lies. They say we are destroying our environment. We would like to assure our mother, our president, Samia Hassan, that we as the people of Ngorongoro love to conserve our environment. We love our animals and we live with them in harmony, with no issues at all.
Human Rights Watch's recent report reveals that the relocation has been anything but smooth. The organization interviewed nearly 100 people, including Maasai who have already been moved and those still facing eviction.
I haven't even been able to cultivate my land because it's been taken over by people from Ngorongoro. Our living conditions have become so bad that we're practically living like wild animals.
In this situation, we can see that the government has created a very flawed system for this conflict, which seems to have no end. These individuals who have come here are our relatives, but they have already turned into enemies due to the systems that the government has put in place to address this issue.
The findings paint a grim picture of forced removals and ignored consent. Maasai's plight highlights a critical issue of how to balance conservation goals with the rights and cultures of indigenous peoples. The world is watching closely to see if justice will prevail for the Maasai and if their voices will be heard. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
The Directorate of Immigration has said in 6 months it will dispose of uncollected passports. In a statement by the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, Julius Bitok, he said this is to free storage space at the department. Further, in line with the presidential directive to facilitate travel for Kenyans pursuing job opportunities outside the country, the Directorate has set up dedicated migrant labor counters to fast-track passport applications. Here is more on the same.
Following a directive from the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, all uncollected passports will be disposed in 6 months, effective from the date of notice, which was July 31st of 2024. This action, according to the department, aligns with several laws and regulations, including Section 31 of the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act and Regulations, the Disposal of Uncollected Goods Act Cap 38, and the International Civil Aviation Organization regulations on the delivery of travel documents. Currently, the department is holding 110,059 uncollected passports in its offices. This announcement comes amid the department's successful clearance of a historical backlog of unprinted passports in their systems in a move to further streamline the services The Director of Immigration Services has suspended the requirement for applicants to book an appointment to collect their passports. In other latest updates, Kenya's monthly inflation dropped by 0.3% to 4.3% in July. The drop was aided by the declining cost of food, electricity, housing and fuel. Latest data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that this dropped from 4.6% in June. Last month, tomatoes, brown wheat flour, onion leeks and bulbs, as well as maize flour, fell by 5.5, 4.2, 4.1 and 5.5% respectively. However, prices of cabbages and carrots increased by 8.1% and 1.8% respectively. Hilary Kabila, GBS News, Nairobi.
Recent floods in Kenya have unleashed a new set of challenges for struggling communities, where along the widespread damage these floods have led to outbreaks of tropical diseases like intestinal worms and snail fever. These diseases are posing serious health risk, particularly to the most vulnerable population. Here is the full report.
Devastating floods are creating a health crisis for some of the communities in Kenya. The heavy rains have brought more than just water damage, they have also sparked dangerous outbreaks of neglected tropical diseases. The floods have also triggered outbreaks of snail fever, another dangerous disease. Both conditions are closely linked to poor sanitation and lack of clean water issues that are worsening in the aftermath of the floods. The solution to this growing health crisis requires significant investment in sanitation and clean water infrastructure. Improved waste management and better access to medical treatment are essential to prevent further outbreaks and protect vulnerable communities. As Kenya deals with these challenges, the need for effective solutions becomes increasingly urgent.
Construction of the proposed 700 million Kenya shillings Embu ultra-modern market is set to begin after a year-long delay since the groundbreaking by President William Ruto in May last year. However, logistical issues have caused substantial delays, leading to dissatisfaction among hundreds of traders who are to move to a temporary site to pave the way for the construction. Meanwhile, tension has risen in Embu as health workers staged protest. The protest centered around a recent promotion advertisement by the County Public Service Board, and the workers argue that the advertisement, which only covers medical doctors, is discriminatory and excludes other health cadres. Here is Tabitha Nyarinda with more.
On Wednesday, CEC for Lands, Housing and Urban Development Raymond Kenywa officially handed over the construction site to the contractor, saying that the new market, consisting of one block with 3 floors, will have the capacity to hold approximately 3,000 traders, emphasizing that it will also include modern amenities such as elevators, lactation rooms and daycare facilities to support working parents.
Leo tuko hapa tu kwa site handover na kudhihirisha kwamba mobilization imefanywa. Representative wa contractor alifika mapema hivi leo na pia tumejoiniwa, we've been joined by senior officers from State Department. Tunataka hili soko likijengwa kwa sababu iko na capacity kubwa, wale wafanyibiashara wote wataweza kuingia hapa ndani kwa soko ndio tuweze kuplan town yetu vizuri.
Kenywa emphasized the importance of local employment, urging the contractor to prioritize hiring local and skilled labor.
Wale ambao watajumuishwa wakuwe ni vijana wetu na wametoka hapa. Sisi hatutaki imports.
James Kiarie, representing the contractor Penny Agency Limited, assured that the project will be completed on schedule and promised job opportunities for both skilled and manual workers from the local community.
Kazi imeanza na we promise you guys of Embu County, especially the hustlers, the traders, we are going to deliver. Kitu ya kwanza, hii project ni ya Embu County na the people around ndio watu watapewa kazi.
Meanwhile, holding placards and chanting anti-government slogans, The workers caused heavy traffic snarl-up along the busy Embu Highway as they made their way to county offices, seeking audience with relevant authorities. Their efforts bearing no fruits, they vowed to continue with the demonstrations. The Kenya National Union of Clinical Officers Embu Branch Treasurer Jacinta Rwamba expressed disappointment that a recent meeting with the Governor Cecily Mbarire had led them to believe the advertisement will include all cadres, while demanding for the advertisement to be revoked and amended accordingly to ensure fairness.
And we feel it is a bit discriminatory because they cannot promote one cadre, yet the rest of us are left in shambles. And the reason as to why we are really mad is because 3 weeks ago we met Her Excellency Governor Mbarire, and she had promised that with this advert, they were to cater for entire health sector. They must revoke that advert and include everyone. And we will not stop these demos until we get what we want.
Another official, Alois Njoka, accused the devolved unit of neglecting them by failing to convert health workers on contracts into permanent and pensionable terms like other counties.
Embu County is not anyway special. Nyeri County has promoted, has employed all contract employees to PNP. Tharaka Nithi has promoted, has confirmed all contracts to PNP. Public Service Board must answer why they can only promote one cadre.
Elsewhere, residents of Murumba village in North Gem have given the government a 14-day ultimatum to relocate a neighbor they accuse of using police and courts to harass them for years. The community claims that the presence of this neighbor has turned their lives into a nightmare, leading to frequent police interventions over what they describe as trivial disputes. At a security baraza held in the village yesterday and chaired by Assistant County Commissioner Said Mohammed, one after the other, the residents voiced their frustrations, describing a decade of distress, threatening that failure on the government to act, they should not be responsible for what befalls her.
Tuko na mama mmoja kwa hii area, anahangaisha kila mtu kwa hii area. Juzi amechoma ng'ombe zangu. Kesho tuko na yeye court. Akona nini na kila mtu. Akona garage na kila mtu. Jana jioni ameshika ndugu yangu yule alimuuzia shamba. Akabebwa na wheelchair kama mzigo. Hatujafurahia hiyo. Sababu hatutaki huyo mama kuanzia leo ahame.
Maneno kidogo anaenda kwa polisi, maneno kidogo anaenda kwa polisi. Badala alete hata mji 10 atatue hiyo maneno, alikataa. Naomba serikali kama wananisikia na kuna wenye wamelia, huyo mama tu wahame.
Huyu mama alikuja kama bado niko na watoto wadogo. Sasa mtoto akasoma tu kufika form 1, hakukua, alikuwa sijui town wapi. Kukuja akaanzana tu na huyo maneno ya masomo ya watoto wangu. Mara hataki watoto waende shule. Sasa mimi nilikuwa naomba tu atoke, atuache na amani yenye tulikuwa nayo.
With the 14-day ultimatum ticking, the residents remain anxious for a resolution. Tabitha Nyarinda, GBS News.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our new segment tonight. But first, let us take a quick commercial break.
Because those people, let's commend them on their quality. Sana their music videos quality na top notch.
Kwa artist atakuwa msanii. Usiende kwa studio kwanza kurecord ngoma bila kuwa educated about music. Juu sasa utaingia hapo, urecord ngoma yako vizuri alafu
hiyo utakuwa umegain kila kitu. But pia label uyachangi hivyo. Yeah, we helped you, so you are supposed to
do something.
Yeah.
Kiingia unapewa contract. Unajua contract inakonga between two parties. Mnaagria under one thing, kila mtu analeta interest zake, then mnaangalia vile mtapata.
We have talent in the ghettos, but manze usanii ni ngumu, designer wise endelea.
True. Manze mimi niliona movie ya Kenya je. Na movie ilikuwa ina trend. Walitumia Land Rover hizi za kitambo, hizi chuma, hizi.
Yeah. Mtu akisenza audio kitu ni ya uongo.
Umeelewa kabisa.
Form 1 kuna mseme Hando akasema yeye ni artist. Akaambia kuja hapa bro. Unichore pilipili na ukali yake.
For the pilipili part sour, but now how the ukali part.
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사.
And I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins. He carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 주고 죄의 형벌.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and now to matters international news. Rwanda is making waves in medical advancement with its Arcad Institute Africa Center, a groundbreaking institution now training over 300 African surgeons in minimally invasive surgery. This initiative, aimed at bridging the gap between advanced surgical techniques and traditional methods prevalent across the continent, marks a noteworthy step forward in improving surgical care and reducing disparities in healthcare. As Africa's sole center dedicates to this high-tech field, Arcad Africa is poised to transform the continent's approach to surgery, promising better outcomes and faster recovery for patients. Here is that report.
Minimally invasive surgery is a modern approach that reduces patient pain, shortens hospital stays, and speeds up recovery. This contrasts sharply with the more invasive traditional surgeries that require longer recovery times and pose higher risk of complications. IRCAD Africa, associated with the famous French IRCAD, was launched to address this disparity and enhance surgical care across Africa.
As you know, on the African continent, more than 95% of the population don't have access to medical and surgical procedures. This is also one of the solutions we brought here in Rwanda, especially serving the African continent.
The center, which began operations last year, was chosen for its favorable global rankings, safety, and robust internet connectivity. Surgeons from 25 countries have already benefited from the center's high-tech training facilities. The initiative is expected to significantly lower surgical mortality rates in low and middle-income countries by improving the quality of surgical procedures.
I can assure you a lot of heroes are being developed here. A lot of legends are going to come out of this lab. And this is a welcome development, not only for Rwandans, not only for Africa, but for the whole world.
As IRCAD Africa continues to train surgeons and advance the use of minimally invasive techniques, it stands as a beacon of progress, promising to enhance surgical outcomes and healthcare standards across Africa. Thomas Musyoki, GBS News.
Algeria has withdrawn its ambassador from France after Paris recognized a controversial Moroccan plan to give limited autonomy to Western Sahara under its sovereignty. French President Emmanuel Macron on Tuesday stated in a letter that they saw this as the only way of resolving the long-standing dispute over the former Spanish colony. Here are the details.
Morocco claimed authority over the Western Sahara in 1875 and controls most of its territory. Algeria backed the outright Polisario Front, which claims to represent the indigenous Sahrawi people and wants the Western Sahara to be an independent state. France's decision to change a decades-long position on the status of Western Sahara is a major victory for Morocco. Paris joins a growing number of countries, including Spain, the United States, and the several African nations that in recent years have backed Rabat's position. But it is a major blow to the Polisario Front, which has slammed France's support for Morocco as a bid to show up its waning influence in Africa. Peris Kigo, GBS News.
Nigerians are set to protest nationwide this week over a severe cost of living crisis. Growing economic frustrations have sparked mobilization on social media, raising concerns among authorities about potential unrest, similar to the 2020 protests against police brutality. President Bola Tinubu's government aims to prevent escalation, but faces disapproval after protest organizers rejected a police proposal to confine rallies. With inflation soaring and over 32 million people facing acute hunger, many feel government measures, including a new minimum wage of $43, are inadequate. Now, as the protest approaches, citizens are determined to voice their grievances. A court in Guinea on Wednesday sentenced former military ruler Moussa Dadis Camara to 20 years in prison after finding him guilty of crimes against humanity. The charges stem from 2009 massacre of more than 150 people during a pro-democracy rally in the capital of Conakry. More than 100 survivors and relatives of victims testified in the trial that started in November 2022, over a decade ago after the massacre, with under pressure from families and activists who are demanding justice. Here is a full report.
The court stated the charges, which included murder, rape, torture, and kidnapping, have been reclassified to crimes against humanity. 7 other accused military commanders were found guilty of the same crimes in high-profile trial. Demonstrators at the stadium were protesting against his plans to start in presidential election the following year when soldiers opened fire on them. At the same time, the junta claimed uncontrolled element of the army had carried out the rapes and killings. But a Human Rights Watch report found that Camara's top aide were at the venue and had done nothing to stop the massacre. Survivors said many could not flee the gunfire after his presidential guards surrounded the stadium and blocked the exits. Camara fled the country after surviving an assassination attempt not long after the massacre, but returned from exile in September 2022 to face justice, insisting that he was innocent. While in jail late last year, Camara was released by gunmen who stormed the country's main prison, but was back in custody hours later, with his lawyer claiming he had been kidnapped. Rights organization Amnesty International has hailed the historic verdict as an example to the world and Guinea, where the illegal use of firearms and excessive use of force during demonstrations remains commonplace. Peris Kego, GBS News.
The United Nations Security Council has unanimously lifted the arms embargo on the Central African country after more than a decade. The embargo, which was originally imposed in 2013 following violent unrest, had significantly restricted the Central African Republic's access to arms and military resources. The Council's move is seen as a crucial step towards restoring stability and peace in the water nation, with CAR officials and international observers hailing it as a pivotal moment in the country's efforts to overcome its protracted crisis. Here is more on the same.
In a shocking incident in Southport, England, a 17-year-old suspect has been charged with the murder of 3 young girls aged 6, 7 and 9 who were killed in a stabbing attack at a local community center during a Taylor Swift-themed event. The teenage suspect, who has not been named due to his age, faces 3 counts of murder and 10 accounts of attempted murder for injuring 8 other children and 2 adults. Police Chief Constable Serena Kennedy stated that while these charges are a significant milestone, the investigation remains ongoing to fully understand the matter.
It is understood that the children were attending a Taylor Swift event at a dance school when the offender, armed with a knife, walked into the premises and started to attack inside the children.
Rumors about the suspect's identity sparked unrest, with dozens of protesters linked to far-right groups clashing with police shortly after a vigil for the victims. 5 suspects have been arrested for the unrest, which was driven by false claims that the attacker was a Muslim asylum seeker. However, police have confirmed that the suspect was born in Wales. Alex Mwangi, GBS News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That international news brings us to our sports news. Let's get sporty. The primary and junior secondary handball games are major annual events that start at the grassroots level and progress to the national level. These tournaments are designed to give young players the chance to showcase their talents and advance through different stages. Each year, teams compete in a series of matches, beginning locally, moving to regional contests, and finally reaching the national championship.
My name is Freddy Kolonde, the founder of Kids Beyond Limit, a registered organization, non-profit, basically meant for training handball and impacting skills on learners within Korokocho and its environs. An organization that started way back in 2008, and it has been running ever since to date. We recruit pupils from schools within Korokocho, train them handball, impact knowledge and skills in them, which can help them get scholarships within the schools within the country. So our main reason of coming up with such an initiative was due to dropout cases we had in our boys and girls within the school, within the area, because their parents could not afford to pay their school fees. So we saw it wise to come up with this initiative through which they could get scholarship, and indeed we've managed to transform a number of lives, because after they finished their class 8 they joined different secondary schools where they learned for 4 years. After they finished their Form 4 they also transit to colleges and universities.
I'm Sebastian Rieger, I'm from Germany, I'm 20 years old, and I came to this program through an organization called Play Handball. We try to teach kids handball for social and environmental change. So we came here to train with the kids handball to get them scholarships for secondary schools. Right now we have the primary school team for Nairobi, and we will travel to Kakamega tomorrow to hopefully win the nationals. And yes, like we train 6 times a week, and the kids are usually very motivated, and like everything we try to teach them is they take it and try to do their best out of it.
Kwa majina naitwa Michelle Aworo Nyango na niko grade 6 na niko happy kucheza hii handball. Sababu kasi singeenda mbali penye naenda hata sahi. Singekuwa naenda Kakamega.
My name is Victor Siero. I'm the programs coordinator Play Handball Kenya. So basically what Play Handball Kenya does is we are using sports as a tool of social change and development. So here we have partnered with Kids Beyond Limit, and we are trying to bring social change and social development through the sport of handball. So basically, we are training the kids with the handball skills through which they are able to secure scholarships to secondary schools and maybe university. At the moment, we have about 120 kids in this center, and we are looking forward for them to better their life through the game.
team, Malkia Strikers, went down in 3 sets of 25-14, 25-17, 25-15 to Poland during their second Group B match of the ongoing Olympic Games played at South Paris Arena, France. Kenya will wind up group matches against Japan on Saturday. The two highest-ranked teams in each pool and the best 2 third-placed teams will advance to the quarterfinals. Kenya is keen on bouncing back after the opening loss to Brazil, pinned Poland in the opening set and took a 3-1 lead inside the 3 minutes, but Poland fought back to equal the scores and eventually won the set in 25-14. Kenya returned into the second set a more determined side and showed promise matching their opponent's strength. Overseas-bound opposite Pamela Athiambo scored 10 points to threaten Poland's lead. Slow center court defending coupled with poor blocking proved Malkia Strikers' bane and lost the second set 25-17. Poland, ranked in 4th place, wrapped up with a win after clinching the third set 25-15 to leave Kenya with a mountain to climb ahead of their third and final Group B match against Japan on Saturday. Kenya's hope for a medal in judo at the 2024 Paris Olympics were dashed after judoka Queen Sedi Cherotich, the first Kenyan woman to compete in the sport at the Olympics, was knocked out 20 seconds into her match with Portugal Patricia Sampaio. Patricia Sampaio took only 20 seconds to see off Kenya's Zedi Cherotich 10-0 in the 78 kilograms category. The 25-year-old Sampaio, ranked 13th in the world, is competing in her second Olympic Games after her debut in Tokyo in 2020. She swiftly defeated Cherotich, ranked 74th in the world. Kenya's representative in the men's walking race, Samuel Kithimba, missed out on a podium finish at the Paris Olympics, completing the race in 22nd position with a personal best time of 1 hour 22 minutes and 26 seconds, as Kenya hopes to meet the medal in the men's 20-kilometer race walking were dashed. Samuel Kithimba is the immediate former African Games champion, having clocked 1 hour 22 minutes and 48 seconds to win the title in Rabat, Morocco during the last Games. That sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Many thanks for joining the broadcast, and as always, here at GBS News at 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.